All right. Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday afternoon, or whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Smrt live stream. I am your teacher for today. I'm Shaun. If you are a student who's been here many times before, welcome back. And if you're new, then welcome for the first time. All are welcome. We've got, of course, Lane is our friendly moderator there in the chat. Throughout the class, if you have questions at all about anything that I'm saying, any questions at all, put it in the chat, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. I'm getting lots of highs in the chat. Hi everybody. Hi Selma. Hi Mohammed, Hussein, John. Lots of some familiar faces out there. Okay, so let's get started. Today we're going to be in Smrt 125, Unit 5. Okay, we're going to be looking at a specific skill having to do with writing or speech, I guess you could say as well. But let's jump into it. Okay, here we go. All right, there's a sundial. Okay, so let's start. Let's get philosophical to begin with, shall we? A very wise man said once, a hidden talent is like a sundial in the shade. Okay, so we're getting deep to start with. And I'm going to ask the question, kind of, what do you think that means? All right, I mean, you could think about it. You can toss it in the chat if you want to. But a hidden talent is like a sundial. This picture, by the way, I should say, is this is a sundial, okay, an old-fashioned clock. So using the sun to tell the time. A hidden talent is like a sundial in the shade. To be honest, the person who said this didn't say exactly this. I'm kind of changing the words a little bit to make it easier for you to understand, maybe. I'm paraphrasing, okay? And the reason I'm doing this is for two reasons. One, today we're going to be talking about a particular talent or skill, and it's actually paraphrasing, okay? So this is what we're talking about today. Today, I thought we would look at two valuable skills when it comes to academic use of English, and that is paraphrasing and summarizing. Summarizing mainly, but in order to summarize, you have to be able to paraphrase. Okay, so this is where we're going to start. English Smrt 125, Unit 5, writing 5.1 and 5.2, paraphrasing and summarizing. So to start, the question is, what does paraphrase mean? Okay, so I just talked about it. I paraphrased that quote slightly. It's mostly the same, but I changed it a little bit. So to paraphrase means to rewrite or to reword or rephrase a sentence or paragraph or idea in your own words, right? So using your words to explain what someone else wrote or said. Okay, so paraphrasing is important. Why is it important? Why do you need to use paraphrase? Because it shows your range, and this is one thing I talk a lot about in this class, is as language students, you want to show what you can do with the language, right? So paraphrasing, using your words to express another person's idea, shows your range of vocabulary, of grammar structure, of sentence types, and all of this stuff that we've been talking about over the last few weeks. Okay, so it shows your range, but it shows that you understand what you've read or what you've heard, right? If you read a sentence or if you read a paragraph, and then you can look away from that and you can rewrite that sentence or paragraph in your own words, that shows not just the teacher that you've understood what you read, but it shows you that you understood what you read as well, which is important, right? So this is why we're looking at this today, paraphrasing. And I know that your teachers are probably always asking you to answer a question in your own words, meaning don't copy and paste and click and drag. Use your words to express the ideas. So how do we paraphrase? That's the question. That's where we're going to start. And let's talk about basically three things to think about, three ways to paraphrase, okay? Three steps, I should say, I guess, all right? Oh, look at this poor guy. Okay, so the sentence is, paraphrase this sentence. Poor guy, the student was unable to express the author's main point despite having read the article several times. This is my sentence that I would like to paraphrase today. Let's look at different ways to do that, okay? The first thing you can do is you can look at the sentence that you're paraphrasing and you can change words. Change individual words. Use synonyms. So if you look at this sentence that I just showed you, the student was unable to express the author's main point despite having read the article several times. You've got lots of content words in there, right, that you can change, but it's important that you don't change the meaning of the sentence, right? You want the meaning to stay the same, but you want your own words, okay? So what could I change here? Well, I see unable to express. You could change that. Author would be pretty easy to change. Point would be easy to change too. Some of the other words like student, I wouldn't worry about changing that. Article, I think for now, this is a pretty good place to start, okay? So unable to express, how else could you express that word or phrase? I would say incapable of expressing, okay? Author becomes writer very easily, and main point becomes main idea, okay? So keep it simple, just like that. So now it's changed a little bit. The student was incapable of expressing the writer's main idea. I haven't really touched the second part of that sentence, but let's talk about that in a second. So is that a good paraphrase? Is that all we need to do? No. Okay, this is the first step, but it's definitely not the final step. This is what we call a weak paraphrase. So if your teacher asks you to use your own words and you kind of change a couple words and that's it, then your teacher's probably not going to be super happy with your paraphrase, okay? So yeah, see, I give that a thumbs down, yeah, or like or a crying cat, you know. In my day, it was just a red X, but now we can get fancy with our teacher symbols, right? So weak paraphrase gets a thumb down. Let's make it better. What can we do to make it a better paraphrase? Well, one thing before I talk about that, actually, I should say that you want to be careful when you're choosing your synonyms, okay? When you're looking at a sentence and you're changing little words, my advice for you is do not use a thesaurus or translator, right? Don't go online and go in the dictionary and just look at a bunch of words to find something. Use words that you're already familiar with, okay? This is important because sometimes students of a second language will choose words at random and they'll come up with a very strange kind of awkward sentence, right? So look at this, for example. Before class, I went into the online thesaurus, all right, and looked for synonyms for some of these words. And this is the sentence that I came up with, okay? The school child was unable to verbalize the wordsmith's main hypothesis, right? Now, this is just me going into the thesaurus, going online and finding words. This is terrible. This is nonsense. If you give me this, you're going to get this back at you, right? Because it's nonsense. It's very difficult to understand. All right. Again, you don't want to be on the receiving end of a look like that. Okay, so how can you do a better job at paraphrasing? Don't just change the words, all right, but change the word order as well, okay? So let's look at this sentence. We've changed a couple things, incapable, writer, idea, but look at that last part of the sentence there, despite having read the article several times, right? Oh, I'm still laughing about that baby. All right, so that last little participle clause that we've got at the end, as we've talked about before in previous classes, we can change the order of your sentence. So look, a little magic trick. I've taught you this before, right? You put that clause at the beginning, change the capitalization, change the punctuation. You got your periods and your commas there. And now you've got an inverted sentence there, just switched around a little bit. Despite having read the article several times, the student was incapable of expressing the writer's main idea. Okay, so this is really just what we've been talking about over the last couple weeks, is showing that you have options with the order of your sentence. I see somebody in the, oh yeah, Selma doesn't know what a wordsmith is. Yeah, don't worry about it. I guess a wordsmith is a writer, somebody who's good with words. Like me, I guess. I'm a wordsmith, maybe. Yeah? Okay, so what else can you do? This is good. This is good. But it's still not great. I mean, it could be better. We can go beyond this, okay? But it's not bad. So let's take one more step to get a really strong paraphrase here, okay? And that's by changing the grammatical forms, meaning changing the grammar, changing the parts of speech in the sentence, okay? So look at these. You can take a verb and make it into a noun, if that's possible. You can take a clause and turn it into a phrase, or I said vice versa, which means you can take a phrase and turn it into a clause. Make a complex sentence into a simple sentence or a compound sentence. You can go from active voice to passive voice or passive voice to active voice. There are lots of changes that you can make to the grammar of the sentence in order to make it your own words, your own, not your own idea, but your own words, okay? And most of this stuff is stuff that we've already talked about over the last few lessons. Not so much active and passive, but we'll get to that in the future. So, again, let's look at this sentence. Despite having read the article several times, the student was incapable of expressing the writer's main idea. Now I'm going to take that same clause that I've already doctored a little bit, I've changed it, and I'm going to take that clause and make it a phrase. So now it's even after multiple readings, the student was incapable of expressing the writer's main idea, okay? And now that's a pretty good paraphrase. I'm happy with that. And I assume that your teachers would be happy with that too. So let's look at it one more time. This is your original sentence. The student was unable to express the author's main point despite having read the article several times. And this is my final paraphrase sentence. Though the student had reread the article multiple times, he was incapable of expressing the writer's main ideas. So the meaning is exactly the same, but the words and the order and the grammar has changed, and that's exactly what you're going for. Okay, so enough for me. I think now it's time for you guys to get to work. All right, so, oh yeah, there's that poor guy again. I don't know why he's there, but that's fine. This is what we're going to do. Paraphrase the following sentences. I'm going to put something on the screen. I'm going to get out of this presentation, and I'm going to put a sentence on the screen, and I would like you guys to try to paraphrase it for me, okay? So use those 3 steps. Now you don't need anything other than the screen to do this. Let me get the notes up here. I'll change the view, full screen. We can go bigger if we need to. Okay. So we're going to go one sentence at a time, just to kind of keep the flow of the class going, okay? So I've got 3 sentences that I would like you to try to paraphrase, one at a time. The first one is this. A part-time job is beneficial for teenagers because it can teach them the importance of being on time. So change the words, change the order, change the grammatical structure, and try to make that sentence your own words, okay? So I'm going to remove myself from the screen for, I would say, 2 minutes. Do what you can, rewrite the sentence, and put it into the chat, and I'll put some of your answers up here, and we'll go over it together. Okay, so I'm popping out, and I'll put on some of that happy music, and you guys can get to work. Okay, so paraphrase this sentence. I'm out of here. All right, I'm back. You guys work fast. All right, this is good. Let's put some answers up here on the screen. Let me scroll down here. See some good stuff coming in. So, first one I put up here is, this one's coming in from Selma, I think. A part-time job is a good way to teach teenagers punctuality. All right, that's really good. Selma, you nailed it. Yeah, because I think most of you are changing it, but you're leaving part-time job, really, because there's really not much you can change that to maybe part-time employment or something like that. But beneficial becomes good. Importance could become value. The value of, as Selma said, punctuality. Let me put another one up here. How about, let me put one coming in from, this one's from Svetlana. Okay, so for teenager, importance of time management can be taught by having a part-time or part job. Okay, this is pretty good. I would change maybe the teenagers, but put an S on teenagers. Put an article in there, the importance of time management, because you've got that phrase there. Can be taught by having a, take that away there, and then say part-time job. That's good. Yeah, these are good. Okay. And Mohammed, to teach teenagers the importance of being on time, they should have a part-time job. That's a good one too. All right, you guys are doing well. Let's keep this going. And John, I saw yours too, I think, and that was really good as well. So let's do one that's maybe a little bit more challenging. Okay, let me test you guys. Next one, paraphrase this sentence. Okay, so studies have shown that over 30% of university students have bought or copied an essay from an online source. Okay, so paraphrase this one, and while you're doing that, maybe I can respond to some of your other paraphrases in the chat here. Okay, so I'm going to pop off for 2 more minutes, put the happy dance music on, paraphrase this sentence, and then we'll go over it together. All right, I'm popping out. All right. Good. Good stuff. Lane did one too. Hey, he beat me to it too. He's going to go with according to studies. That's good. All right. Good for Lane. All right. Studies have shown that over 30% of university students have bought or copied an essay from an online source. So let me do one up here. I'm going to put my answer up on the screen. I'm seeing lots of good stuff coming in on the chat. Good one from Marianne, good one. John, in recent university studies, it has been proven that 30% of students plagiarize from website sources. That's really good. Yeah, the other thing, and I think Marianne mentioned it there, that 30% is one that I really like you to try to rephrase that. That would be a really good way of showing your range of language, right? How could you express 30%? And I think Marianne said over a third, right? Yeah, this is good stuff coming in. So I'm going to steal Lane's answer in the chat a little bit. Okay. And he said, according to, he said according to studies. Is that right? Yeah, it's not bad. I'm going to say according to research. Oh, wow. Okay. You know, fancy I'm getting. So, 30% is over a third, if that works. How about 1 in 10 college students, a lot of people change university to college, that's great, students have purchased or plagiarized, let's say content from, what's another way to say online source? We'll say from the internet. Not you guys, I'm sure. None of you guys on here. Other people. Yeah, the other 30%, right? So according to research, 1 in 10 college students have purchased or plagiarized content from the internet. All of these answers coming in are looking really good. One that I did see, Hussein, just be careful when you're paraphrasing, because the "it's amazing to say," it sounds a little bit too much like your opinion, right? So in my original sentence up here, while it is amazing, but not a good amazing, to say 30%, that does seem pretty high. In my original sentence, it doesn't express opinion about it. It's just the fact, right? So be careful when you're paraphrasing not to add your opinion in there, okay? But that's good. We got something else coming in here. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, right. So it's important to point out that I'm an English teacher, not a math teacher, right? Okay. So Selma has pointed out that 1 in 10 is not 30%, which is absolutely correct. Yeah, thank you for that. So how about 3? 3 and 10. Check my math. All right, let's crunch some numbers here. Break out the calculator. And yeah, what I meant is 3 and 10. That might work better. Okay, thanks for that, Selma. That's great. Okay, so how about let's do one more just to really drive it home. Okay, one more sentence to paraphrase, and then we're going to look at something a little bit different. All right, so paraphrase this sentence. Although the dangers of the drug are clear, its popularity continues to rise among teens. Okay, so talking about probably what seems to be an illegal substance. Oh, I don't want to paraphrase it for you. So I'm going to pop off. We'll get the music back on, paraphrase it, put it in the chat, and we'll talk about it together. Okay? Get to work. All right. We've got some more coming in. This is going to be our last sentence that we're going to look at, and then we'll do something else. Okay, so we've got some good answers coming in. Marianne got another good one. Said the usage of drugs by adolescents is increasing, even though the danger is obvious. Good, you kind of flip that around. Nice. Svetlana, despite the transparent dangers of drugs. Good one. Hussein, The usage of drugs has its own steep slope. Okay, I think you mean maybe slippery slope there, Hussein, but that's good. And John, yeah, this is good. So I'm going to maybe take a bunch of your ideas. These are all good coming in here. And say, I would say drug use among teens, or you said adolescents, that's good. Continues to increase, and I put despite the obvious risk. I'll change danger to risk. Drug use, or maybe I would say use of the drug, because it's being specific. Let's just change that. Use of the drug. Use of the drug among teenagers continues to increase despite the obvious risk. All of those really good answers coming in. Yeah, one more from Selma and Mohammed. Yeah, these are all really good. Okay, this is great, guys. So paraphrasing is what we're talking about here. And just to kind of get back to what we were originally talking about, to paraphrase my paraphrase, at the beginning of class we talked about this quote, the hidden talent is like a sundial in the shade, which I think means if you hide your talent, it's useless. So I think this person was trying to say, if you have a skill or talent, don't hide it, show it, which is, wow, that's very inspirational. Okay, so if you have a talent for paraphrasing, then use it. And if not, practice it, because you're going to need it in your academic pursuits. Okay, so we'll come back, we'll kind of come back to this, all right, because we're going to be talking about paraphrasing a little bit later. But first, it's time once again for the mistake of the week, right? The mistake of the week. I really need some sound effects in here. What do you think? Sound effects? Maybe next week. All right, so what is the mistake of the week? Take a look at this sentence. Can you spot the mistake? Okay, I'm not even going to read it aloud because I'm afraid that I'll accidentally fix it for you. Okay, so take a look at this sentence, and whoever gets the mistake in the chat first is the best student on the internet. Okay, so again, I'm just going to pop out for 10 seconds, and it's a race. Who can spot the mistake first? Go for it. All right, some of you are quick on the draw. Thanks for putting your answers in there. And the mistake of the week is one that is a problem for all sorts of students. Students of English as a second language oftentimes have issues with, and some of you saw it. I think Selma caught it. John got it there, yeah. So it is, the mistake is this article at the very beginning. Articles, something that drives students crazy, for sure. Oh, Oscar's here. Yeah, welcome back, Oscar. All right, so, and I see Hussein, you said the South American not capitalized, but no, I would say South American, you would want the capital there. The mistake is the article. And why is it a mistake? It's something that students often have trouble with. It's because we don't use an article when we are generalizing about abstract or uncountable nouns. So generalizing means you're talking about something without being specific. Okay, you're talking in general about what we call abstract and uncountable nouns. Abstract meaning words, nouns you can't necessarily touch or see or feel. Things like love, happiness, I've got death there, okay? Uncountable nouns are just nouns that we don't typically count, right? You don't put them in the plural, like advice, water, information, and obviously there are exceptions to these uncountable nouns. But when you're using these nouns in the general sense, typically you don't put an article there, okay? So here's the corrected sentence, as some of you caught it. Sugar and coffee are major exports of many South American countries. Sugar and coffee are uncountable nouns, typically, especially when you're talking in the general sense, okay? Now there are going to be exceptions to that, which are important to keep in mind. If you look at this sentence, for example, research has shown that caring about the happiness of other people can lead to a happy life. Now, I said before that happiness is an abstract concept. You can't see it or touch it. Well, you might be able to see it, but you can't touch it or count it, okay? But you still have that article there with the. So why? Now, this is an important distinction, an important difference to see, is that in my case, in this sentence, the word happiness, the noun, is followed by the phrase of other people. Now, we've talked about phrases in this class before. When you use a phrase like this, you're not speaking about it in general anymore. You're getting more specific. So it's not just happiness, the general happiness. Now it is the happiness of other people. It's very specific. Okay, so in this case, you are going to see the article there. Okay, so let me look at one other example. The water in this river is highly toxic and should not be consumed. So I said before that water is uncountable, and when you speak in general, you don't use the article. For example, everyone needs water to survive, to live, or to teach, I guess. But in this case, again, you've got the article there. Why? Because this noun is followed by the phrase, in this river. Now you're being specific. It's not the general water. It's the water only in this place, okay? So just watch out for that, okay? Just to be clear, because this is kind of the mistake of the week, I thought I would kind of hammer it home with a quick exercise. So speaking of using articles with abstract or uncountable nouns, take a look at these 4 sentences. And again, I'm going to pop out real quick. You've got 1 minute and decide which of these sentences is correct or incorrect. Look at the articles in these sentences, or missing articles perhaps, and decide, have I made a mistake or not, okay? And then put your answers in the chat. You can just say 1, 2, 3, 4, correct or incorrect, I or C, or happy face, sad face, whatever you want to say. And I'm going to pop off the screen for 1 minute. So correct or incorrect? All right, go for it. All right, let's go over this stuff together. Lots of answers coming in. This is good. Let me see here. So, number one, Hussein says it's correct. Is number one correct? It says many people believe that creativity is something that cannot be taught in school. And I would say yes. Look at that, big check mark. Yeah, okay, so it is correct because here you've got that abstract noun, creativity. There's no article before it because we're just talking about creativity in the general sense. Good stuff. And yeah, I see Oscar put in one is correct. Good stuff, Oscar. And Selma, I see that coming from you too. So creativity is something that cannot be taught in school. I don't know if I agree with that or not. You guys can discuss that in the chat maybe. But you're absolutely correct here. And I guess so am I because I wrote the sentence. So I'm correct. Number two, coming in from Yuri and Selma and Hussein. Yeah, okay. So most of you have identified, I'd say, that number two is incorrect. It's a mistake. That copper, which is a metal, is a good conductor of the electricity. In this case, the electricity should not be there because electricity is uncountable and it's non-specific, okay? So I would just take that out of there entirely. Yuri, I noticed that you suggested maybe an electricity, but again, we don't count one electricity, so you're not going to use the article a or an with this uncountable noun. I would just take the article out of there entirely. What about number three? She made the difficult decision to leave her job with the support of her family. Who else we have in here? I'll say Marianne answered number four, okay. Number three, Selma again, okay. And Hussein. Oh, I see. So Hussein, you're saying maybe a difficult decision. In this case, she made a difficult decision or the difficult decision. You could go either way. But I would say that this sentence, as it is still correct. Really what I was looking for more is that article before support, right? Again, support, you don't count, but in this case, again, you've got that prepositional phrase of her family, and therefore you know that you need that article before support, okay? And I noticed that I haven't actually. This is perfect. This is a perfect placement of my head because I've actually accidentally put the answer for number four, but my head was blocking the check mark or the X. So number four, Marianne says is incorrect, and she is correct that this is incorrect. There's the X behind my melon here. The managers who treat their employees, or managers, sorry, who treat their employers with the respect will usually be respected in return. A nice thought, but in this case, the article the should be removed because respect is a general noun. In this case, it's uncountable, and you're talking about just respect in general. Okay, so that was the mistake of the week. Just make sure that you are looking out for these answers or these mistakes in your own writing. Okay, it's really common, and I know it's a really small mistake, but to a teacher or maybe to someone reading a job application or an email, they really stand out as tiny mistakes, but mistakes that drive teachers crazy, okay? So watch out for them. All right, with the last little bit of class, we're gonna move away from the mistake of the week, the articles. Be careful of your articles. Oh yeah, and we're gonna talk about this. All right, now make no mistake. This is not a caramel. I remember showing this picture to a student once and they thought that it was, a caramel or some kind of sweet. Don't eat that like this because this is soup stock. This is soup bouillon, okay? Now why am I showing my picture of soup stock? I'm not going to teach you how to make soup today, all right? That'll be maybe next week. We'll talk about how to make soup. But you take this stuff and of course you add water to it and you get this, delicious soup, yeah? Now, why am I talking about this? Because today we're talking about writing a summary. Now, what does that even mean, right? How are these two connected? Well, writing a summary is really about taking the soup and taking out all of the water, taking everything that you don't need and kind of boiling it down into one of these intense little flavor cubes that you don't want to eat on their own. All right, maybe that's a bit of a stretch as far as metaphors go, but this is what we're talking about: summaries. Taking the soup and making it into a little cube here like this. Now, writing a summary is something that a lot of students have trouble with. They find it really difficult. But I'm going to give you some tips on how to do it well here today, because it is, what is that going on in there? We call it jumbo. Okay, maybe, yeah, jumbo or gumbo, maybe, yeah? Okay, and enough about soup, okay. Back to summaries. So, students have trouble with summaries, but it's important to be able to write a good summary, because at some point in your academic career, you're going to have to do it, I assume. And when you think about it, we really summarize things all the time in daily life. I mean, you watch a movie and you will summarize it to your friend without maybe giving out too much information. Your friend misses a class, maybe this class, for example, and then you summarize the main points of the class. You kind of tell your friend about what they missed in class. So let's talk about how to write a good summary. I'm going to give you some tips, okay, and then I'm going to maybe even give you guys some homework, all right? And I see that Selma is correcting me about the gumbo, or actually Lane, yeah. So it's not gumbo, it's jumbo. All right, good to know. I just call it soup, I don't know. So a good summary, first and foremost, is clear to someone who has not read or watched or heard the original material. So this seems obvious, but if you're writing a summary, whether it's a paragraph or a full page or however many pages that your summary is, you have to remember that the person you're writing it for is someone who has not read the thing that you are summarizing, which seems kind of obvious. But if you remember that, you'll make sure to be as clear as possible. Okay, so it has to be clear. Now, as an example, oh, it's Leo. All right, this week actually, not yesterday, but I watched the movie The Revenant. Okay, so let's talk about The Revenant for a minute, yeah? Here's my sentence. The Revenant is the newest film starring Leonardo DiCaprio. In the movie, Hugh Glass is badly hurt in a bear attack and is left for dead in the wilderness. That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you any more about it, don't worry. But there's a problem with this sentence. Yeah, I see no spoilers. That's all I'm going to say. Is that you watch the preview, you're going to see more than this, okay? I'm not going to tell you anything else. But what's the problem with this sentence as far as summaries go is this. Hugh Glass, I say in the movie, Hugh Glass is badly hurt in a bear attack. The question is, who is Hugh Glass, right? Because again, I haven't thought about the fact that maybe you haven't seen it, or obviously Julian, I see in the chat, maybe has not seen it. So I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but I will tell you that Hugh Glass is DiCaprio's character, okay? So in the movie, DiCaprio's character, Hugh Glass, is badly hurt. Now, I'll even go a little bit further with who that is, and I would say, in the movie, the hunter and explorer, Hugh Glass, played by DiCaprio, is badly hurt, blah, blah, blah. And again, that's all I'm going to say. Okay, watch the movie, it's really good. But again, be clear to your audience, right? That's important. So that's rule number one. Rule number two, a good summary follows paragraph structure. So everything that we've talked about in class about making sure you've got a topic sentence and then supporting sentences, it's the same thing with a summary. You have to make sure, for example, that in my summary, I have an opening sentence with the name of the movie in it. If you just look at this first sentence, you can see that I'm going to be talking about The Revenant, and I'm going to maybe summarize the plot points for you. Okay, this kind of looks like the beginning of a movie review. All right, yeah, I see people are really impressed with my use of commas. Yeah, I like to pepper my sentences with commas. I like the comma for sure, if we use them properly. So in this case, you see that and you know, okay, he's talking about The Revenant. The movie is there. The actor is there. It's a good introductory sentence to it. Okay. So a question coming in from Jesus says, do we have to include the who, the why, the what, and the why again, and then the how? Yeah. I would say that. I don't think you necessarily need it in the very first sentence, Jesus, to answer your question. I mean, that's very much more about journalism, I think, than academic summary or something like that. But your reader should know in the first sentence or two that you are summarizing something. So you'd start with, in this article, the author says blah, 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 or something like that. Or in the book, The Old Man and the Sea, and so on, okay? So you always want the name of the movie or the author of the book or the name of the article in that opening sentence. That would be my suggestion, okay? So a good summary gives the main points, but only the main points. Remember that intense, salty chicken stock cube, right? Take all of the unnecessary water out of there. Any details or figures that you don't need, you take that out, okay? Just the main points, and that's where students have difficulty sometimes, kind of deciding what's most important. And oftentimes that's really just a judgment call for the student to make, okay? So only the main details. And of course, a good summary has to paraphrase. So in other words, don't use direct quotes in a summary, generally speaking. There are always exceptions, but typically use your words to rephrase and deliver the information from the original source. Okay? Okay, oh yeah, I see Jesus is a reporter working for a radio station, so that makes sense that you're asking that question, Jesus, for sure. But in this case, good summaries paraphrase, okay? Next, a good summary is concise. What does that mean? It means it's not wordy, okay? Don't be fancy, don't be cute, don't write something beautiful, don't give me flowery language, don't give me something magical, unicorns and rainbows, okay? Don't give me Shakespeare, don't give me poetry, just deliver the information, okay? Just deliver the information, be direct, and remember the point of the summary is to save a person time, right? I don't have time to watch The Revenant, just tell me what it's about and I'll be on my way, right? So you want to be concise, not too wordy, okay? All right. A good summary presents information in the same order as the original, if possible. Okay, so you want to follow that order in your summary. Don't mess around with the details too much. Okay? And lastly, a good summary is objective, meaning don't include your opinion unless your teacher asks you for it. Okay? So it is the case that sometimes the teacher or an assignment will say, summarize this and respond to it. So give your opinion about it, okay? So you might have to do both. But if you're not asked for your opinion, don't give it, right? That just for summaries, not in life, all right? But that's basically all you need to know to be able to write a good summary. And I see some of you like my unicorn, yeah? Okay. So from there, I think that, yeah, that's my last slide, and that's perfect timing because it's now time for me to give you a homework assignment if you choose to accept it, okay? So I'm going to go up in here, and I'm going to show you, if you are a smart student, oh yeah, no, not there. I'm going to go, hang on, I'm in the wrong place here. I'm going to go into 125, into Unit 5, writing 5.1, right at here. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger. And if you're not a smart student, don't worry. I'm going to put a link to a document in the chat, or our friendly moderator, Lane, is going to do that for me, okay? So homework for the weekend, and for the week, I guess, is 5.2, called In Your Own Words, Summarizing. Now, basically everything that I said is there, and there's my big face behind me, all right? Double the Shaun, all right? Double the Shaun, double the fun, yeah? All right. You can go into here, open up the exercise, and what I put here is an article from a American magazine called, I think it's from The Atlantic. Okay, it's not a long article. It's just a few paragraphs, maybe 5 or 6 paragraphs, and it's all about Facebook and how much we share on Facebook. Okay, so the assignment is to do this exercise. All right, 2 things you have to do. One up here is write a sentence explaining what this article is about. 25 words, no more. What is this article? Just finish this sentence. This article is about what? Okay, tell me. And then if you're super keen and eager, you can then go down, all the way down, we'll say part 3. It says use your own words and write a 1-paragraph summary of the article. Okay, so now I can't necessarily guarantee that I'll be able to talk about every single paragraph if everybody puts one in, but I will try to take a look at some of them, and maybe next week, if people submit them, we can put them up. And one thing that I will do is maybe at the end of class next week or at some point, I will put a sample of a summary. So you can even, if you want, read this article throughout the week, and then next week when you come back, I will put my own summary of this article up there for you to read and be amazed by how good it is. Yeah, but no rainbows, no unicorns, just information. Okay, so that's your homework. This is 5.2. I think Lane put the link in the document. Take your time, read through it, and do this exercise for next week. And that, I think, wraps it up for yet another week. Time flies when you're summarizing and paraphrasing. Let me pop out of there. So thanks again for coming to the Smrt live stream. Again, tell your friends, spread the word, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. And we will see you again next week, same time, 3 o'clock Pacific time. All right, 3 o'clock Vancouver time. And keep paraphrasing, and we'll see you next week. All right, thanks for coming. I'm officially out of here. I'm going to put the music back on. Maybe I'll stick around. If anybody has any questions about what we've done today, you can throw it into the chat. I'll stick around for 5 minutes or so to address any of your questions. But if not, then that's fine. I'll see you next Wednesday. Okay, guys? See you later.